Friends, the Charlie Kirk Show team here. America's debt bomb has blown past $37 trillion, and it's climbing every second. President Trump is fighting for fair trade and strong borders to slow the train wreck, but the numbers don't lie. When debt grows this fast, it can threaten your savings and your family's future. That's why more Americans are turning to real assets like gold and silver. I work with and recommend Preserve Gold. They make it simple to own physical gold and silver, even inside your retirement accounts like an IRA or 401k. Text USA to 50505 for their free wealth protection guide. With a qualified purchase, you could get up to $20,000 in free gold or silver. Blake, we had some breaking news just this morning. The FBI has arrested a suspect. Yeah, the FBI has arrested a suspect in the January 5th pipe bomb planning investigation. And we have some information on this suspect already. So, Blake, why don't you walk through what we know? And then we also are aware that we're going to have a 1 p.m. Eastern press conference where we'll obviously find out more. And Julie Kelly is coming up at 12:30 on this show to fill us in on what she has gathered thus far.
Yeah, exactly, Andrew. We don't know too much stuff yet. We do have it reported the name of the suspect. His name is Brian Cole. I have seen reporting in various places that have described him as potentially, quote, an anarchist. And some people have said, okay, there's a lot of types of anarchism. That would definitely make it plausible to explain why you would leave bombs at both the RNC and the DNC. A lot of anarchists are sort of anti-everything, anti-all parties, anti-all governments. He seems to have a house in Northern Virginia. It's a pretty nice house, I must say. So that would be interesting.
Interesting.
It would be wild if we had a breakthrough on this, just because it's been almost 5 years. The FBI said that they had reviewed thousands of hours of footage, interviewed hundreds, if not thousands of people, really investigated this and gotten nowhere for so long. And that, as you know, Andrew, drove so much speculation. We had recent speculation it was somebody else just within the last month. But also, I think you remember, we talked to Darren Beatty a lot. He thought the pipe bomber might really be this key to cracking what might have been a plan on January 6th. It's been this long-running thing. I think that was one of the first shows I did with Charlie when I joined almost 3 years ago, was us discussing the J6 pipe bomber and the ongoing drama around it. So I think we're all very interested and excited to see what they reveal over the course of today.
Yeah, exactly. So let's play this out here, Blake. If this person ends up being, as some outlets have already reported, associated with Antifa or having connections to Antifa or similar ideologies, you mentioned he might be an anarchist. I don't really necessarily see a differentiation between those two ideologies on some level. If we find that out to be the case, and you know Darren well, we had him on the show a lot of times, going through why this could be potentially a linchpin to unraveling all of the mystery around January 6th. What does that do to our theories of the case? What does that mean in terms of the ramifications, right? These allegations, speculations of a grander conspiracy, of coordinated conspiracy, are they dashed? Does it add new light on it? Does it fuel them further?
Well, I'm sure we could probably talk to Darren or Mike Benz. I'm sure they're both digging deep into this. But I guess one of the core of the idea was that it should have been extremely trivially easy for them to identify the pipe bomber, that they had a lot of this evidence, that not all of the evidence had been released. I remember there was a lot of fixation on how they had more footage of the pipe bomber than they'd actually let out to the public.
Right. And it was grainy, and it was missing frames. And
exactly. So what will be very interesting is now that they're charging somebody, we're going to, all of the evidence is going to have to come out because it's going to be part of the trial, and they'll have to lay out how did they identify this person, and we'll get, I think, a better insight into why it took so long and what the supposed breakthrough was. And that could be, the final piece of that jigsaw that makes it all come together. They might have a very plausible explanation of why there was so many blind alleys or why this was so difficult, or that answer might be somewhat unsatisfying. But they have certainly made the superficial showing of this being a serious thing. In 2023, they raised a reward for information leading to an arrest from $100,000 to $500,000. So there was this fat pot of money available if someone was able to identify a suspect. And I suspect if someone had known and they were just being denied and shut down, they could have gone to the press about it. So I think I'm hopeful this will be a real breakthrough, and we don't want our government to be doing weird plots or weird agent provocateur stuff. So I would be very happy if it did turn out that was not the case.
Yeah, no, it's same, actually. I think, us on the right, we should be relieved if they actually get the suspect and we identify it. It's beyond a shadow of a doubt, and the facts bear out. But just to bring everybody kind of up to speed on some of these different pieces here. So in these pipe bombs were live and viable. Now, there's some disagreement behind whether or not you could detonate them successfully. So I don't know if you would chalk that up to competency or if it was an intentional ruse, what it could be, not sure. But they contained homemade black powder, kitchen timers, and other components capable of detonation, and they could have caused serious injury or death if they had exploded. Why that point is important is because you had Kamala Harris walking within 20 feet of these pipe bombs, and we have not heard a peep out of the Democrats on this very, very suspicious story. So that's one little nugget that I think we need to hold in the back of our thoughts as we do this. The other thing is, as you mentioned before, there was reporting within the last month by Stephen Baker, who they were talking about this gate analysis, like this gate signature that what they were trying to say was a 94, some people say 96% or 98% match to a former Capitol Police personnel. So one has to wonder, did that force pressure inside the FBI, inside the intelligence agency to get to the bottom of this? And now one other really important fact is that when Dan Bongino, Kash Patel came into the FBI, there was a team that was already working on this. They augmented the team, and they completely switched out those who were investigating this. So they brought in a new team. They made it larger, and perhaps this is what has led to this end result, that they've got somebody they believe is the actual perpetrator in this case. So one has to wonder what machinations were going on behind the scenes that within 1 month of this other story, we get this new story. And I'll just end this segment with this thought, Blake. We were told, if this ends up being true, that Antifa had nothing to do with J6, right? This was a right-wing coordinated assault, sedition. This was an assault on our Capitol and our very democracy. So if it turns out that a member of Antifa or somebody with close ties to Antifa was in fact behind what I would say is the most serious and destructive and dangerous aspect of that whole saga, then we have a whole new series of questions about what this means and what the significance of this day and this act really truly were.